Good evening. This is Hotline 157, man, 157. I'm a pal Val. With me is the man, the myth, the legend, PSA Hall of Famer at King NASCAR. Logan, how are you?
I'm fine, man. I'm wearing the heat out here, though.
I bet you. And, of course, joined tonight, Bo at 1 Million Cubs. How are you, sir?
What is that? Was that Boris Karloff that you came in with? I like that. Good evening.
I was trying to do something different here because I'm not sure what we're going to talk about today, but hey, talking cards for an hour, how can you beat it? So anybody in the chat, good evening as well. I'll post the link if you want to join us. Extra points if you call in today.
Star for the day. So isn't this crazy? I kind of like it that we come into shows here in June not really with topics, because back in January it was like every day. It's like we could have had a hobby hotline every day because there was so much news happening, and now it's kind of the dog days of summer, but it's kind of the hobby news isn't as rampant as it was 6 months ago. It's kind of a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it was like a fire hose of news.
Yeah, it was.
It was coming left and right. Who's buying who's getting money, who's NFT this, NFT that, and whatever the sports. So yeah, we're winding down. We got a few hockey teams left, few NBA teams left. I saw that the Panthers, whatever, the mini camps are going on right now. So, of course, NASCAR is kind of in full swing, so it's kind of a lull. It won't pick up again, really, collecting-wise, until later on, I guess, towards the playoffs. But
man, I'd hate to be in a camp right now with all this heat. Oh, my God. Hopefully they're inside practicing, because I would not want to be out in this stuff.
Now, I'm in Wisconsin, and I am absolutely loving the heat. We're right now at 8 o'clock Central Time. It's 90 degrees. It's humid outside, and I was, in fact, up until about 15 minutes ago, I was sitting outside on the patio with a cold drink and grilled a steak tonight, and I'm loving this heat. We don't get this type of heat like you guys do down in Tennessee and down south, so I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's the norm here for sure, but it's kind of extreme right now. I mean, it's extra hot. I mean, usually it's in like the low 90s, but it's in the upper 90s. I think we were close to 100 today as well.
so, Kamikaze Card Collector, good evening. Good evening, Brad. Hashtag skid marks. So Kamikaze Cards, so do you think cards make sense to grade right now with the prices? I'm a low price set registry type guy. So even at, was it $20 or $30? What is it at now? I can't do it.
Yeah, value's at $30 right now. It's I just don't think I don't think you can call that value. I love PSA, but $30 is still way too much. I'm still holding out for $15 to $18, and a lot of people think I'm crazy that that's not going to happen. But I'm holding out hope that they'll have some specials or something that'll be around that price.
Well, we do the low end stuff. I was with my brother, right? He's trying to do the 85 Dunro set. How can you do that at $30 a card? You
can't. It's not worth it.
So unfortunately, as everybody ages and they're trying to collect those sets from their childhood, whatever, we're in that early 80s level, and it just doesn't make sense of that. It doesn't really make sense at $10 a card, but it's a lot better than 30.
Do you think PSA may be thinking this, because the way people collect is different now. I'm old school. I collect sets, right? But a lot of people just collect, like certain players or certain, athletes in certain sports. They don't focus on sets now. So, for those kind of people, I guess it's okay, right? $30 for, getting Justin Herbert or, whoever graded may be okay for them. But for the people who are like me, collecting sets, it's not okay because I can't afford to send in a $2 card to get graded for $30.
Or some low end Cubs.
Right. and I think right now, I think we're inching back to where it, will be beneficial. I don't know if beneficial is the right word, but for collectors of all sorts, because we are getting close to more of a value for set, for the set registry and the 85 Donruss. So I think it's inching that way. I'm not really, actually not. I've never graded a card. I have a stack of pre-war Cubs cards that I'm considering submitting just to get them slabbed, basically for authenticity purposes. And as the prices, and I have I'm not going to flip them. They're for my own personal collection. They're just, I don't care about the grade. So that's kind of the camp I'm in but I'm not in any rush. And so, if it drops a couple bucks, I'll submit at some point. But I've considered even it dropping to $30, maybe take a flyer on, maybe I pull a card and, $30 or $50 to submit it. I'm kind of on the fence, at that price point. It all depends, but it's definitely getting closer for me as a non-grader to at least consider it, because back before the pandemic and before the big grading boom, I had a few times put some cards aside to think about submitting to PSA or SGC, and never really pulled the trigger. And then once the floodgates opened, then I was out. And now it's creeping back to that territory where it might make sense at some point to consider it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that PSA and all the grading companies are going to lower their prices. They're going to have to, because you have to think that PSA is, they're getting caught up on their backlog of cards, and they're predicting like September, maybe October at the latest, they're going to be done with the backlog. So they're going to have these graders and everybody needing cards to grade. So they're going to have to lower prices to get people to submit more cards. At least that's what I think is going to happen.
Well, the slowdown's coming. So, how do they keep employees busy, I guess, or working? So,
well, they've already gone to all this trouble to train the talent to get through this backlog. So it would be a shame to lose those people. And I don't think PSA is going to let anybody go. I think they're smart. They're going to, lower their prices and have specials and things and keep that volume going. But I think what you're going to see is the turnaround times are going to be so much better now. Once they get past the backlog, I think you're going to see a lot quicker turnarounds on everything, not just value, but all the different levels are going to come back quicker.
So that's interesting. He's collecting 2010 to 2020 Topps UFC cards.
Yeah, I haven't collected UFC. I've got a few WWE cards, that I've had, and some older wrestling cards that I've had, but I've not collected that. I thought about maybe collecting some of that, but my hands are full with NASCAR right now.
NASCAR and Formula One.
Well, yeah, throw the Formula One in there, yeah, for sure.
Well, it was interesting this past weekend. I was at a show in Rockford, Illinois, and the promoter came up to me and about midway through the show, and his report from various dealers was slabs aren't selling. What was in demand was raw cards. Dealers that had showcases with slabs weren't really moving those slabs, but people were buying raw cards. And that's just a small snapshot from a small monthly show. I don't know what that says overall. I don't know what other shows are experiencing. But I found that to be, pretty interesting, that I haven't seen raw cards being demanded at card show in, quite some time. It's been slab, slab, slab. So to hear that over the weekend was, really piqued my interest.
Well, PSA is grading, 40, 50,000 cards a day, and all those things are being released out into the wild right now. So, it's like what we've talked about before. There's going to be, we're going to enter a junk slab era now, because there's going to be, how many Zions are you going to need graded? How many Ja Morants are you going to need graded? At some point there's probably going to be a glut, because, I went to my local hobby shop back when all this was going on, and there was a group of guys there that were like opening a pack of Prism football and Prism basketball and all the different things. They were just opening up packs left and right. And I was in the background listening to these guys. And as soon as they would see anything that said like rated rookie or had the rookie logo, oh, I'm submitting this. No matter what it was, they were submitting it. So, that's what we're dealing with now. You had all these people thinking that, hey, I'm gonna make a lot of money right now if I submit all these things, and it's just not going to happen.
And a lot of those are now starting to come back. We're seeing that backlog get caught up, and
That's right.
We're seeing Bull and Gavin Lux and Kobe White, and in those, even in a 10, they're selling for like $10. So can you imagine those cards that were submitted 18 months ago that are coming back 8s and 9s? They're going to be in, like, it wouldn't surprise me to start seeing slabs in dollar boxes here in the next few months, because there's zero demand for a lot of these slabs.
Now, I was at a show this weekend, and they had some slab boxes. There's $7 and $10 slabs. So I was just looking at Zion. So I don't remember what Zion was at the peak. A rookie PSA 10 silver. I want to say what was 5,000. Is that?
I don't know. It was expensive though.
All right. So right now they're closing at 1,400 for a PSA 10.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's taken a big hit. I even know it was in one of the Facebook groups I was in the other night. The Derek Jeter market, the SP Jeter, the rookie SP Jeter has taken just a monumental hit on some of its PSA 9s slabs. So it's not just some of those fly by night prospects that that were the it guys at the time of when the floodgates were open for submitting everything, but it's some of those big cards as well.
Yeah, and that Jeter is tough anyway. That's a tough card to grade. So if you can find one in a 9 for a decent price, I think that now would be a great time to probably buy one if you can afford it.
Absolutely.
I think there's definitely going to be buying opportunities if we hit a recession. And I know Logan, we saw this over the last recession with NASCAR, but that there's opportunities to pick up, some probably some of the cream of the crop type thing at a good price. So,
well, I was going to say, I don't collect basketball, and I'm not going to be one of those FOMO people. But if the price gets right on a Zion and he comes back, I may pop on one of those. Who knows?
There's a lot of great opportunities right now, and I've been buying a lot. I've probably bought more in the last 2 to 3 months than what I bought the entire, we'll call it the COVID year of 2020, when things really shot up. I didn't buy anything. I bought some here and there, some stuff here and there, but comparatively speaking, I bought very little during 2020 because everybody was buying. So I was running to my closet, running to these boxes. I was unloading everything I could because everything was selling. And so I was just focusing all my time on selling everything that I could. And, my niche is buying bulk from Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. And in 2020 and 2021, you didn't see any of those bulk lots up on Facebook Marketplace. You saw a lot of mystery lots, and if you did see a bulk lot, it was a bunch of 88 Donruss for $1,000. And now all of a sudden, people are starting to unload, and it's a great opportunity to find some of those lots. And a lot of people are just dumping stuff at pennies on the dollar because I just want to get out. People want to get out, and that's the perfect time to strike.
Yeah, we've seen that even on some of the NASCAR groups. I've seen a couple posts here lately where guys going, "I'm getting out of cards. I'm selling everything." And it's like, man, I mean, I guess to me, I guess those people really weren't collectors. They may have been people who were just speculating. I don't know, but I'm in it for the long haul. I've been in it for the long haul, and like you, Bo, I don't sell anything, but during all that craziness, I had offers on cards that it was like I'd be crazy not to sell them, and I did. I mean, it was things I had doubles of and things I didn't mind selling. So, but I did actually sell some things, and that's almost unheard of. You can ask Val for me to do something like that.
I sell cards full time, and it's a business now for me since October of last year. But I've treated cards as a business for several years, and I kind of went against that business mindset during the pandemic when it comes to my Cubs cards. And there was a podcast where the 1991 Topps Don Zimmer card, all of a sudden, it was like a cult following, and they were selling 91 Topps Don Zimmer cards were selling for $10 to $15 on eBay. And just for giggles, I went out and I dug through my Z box of Cubs cards and about a third or a fourth of my Cubs collection, and I pulled 300, 400 Don Zimmer 91 Topps out. And I didn't sell a damn one, which is stupid on my part, from a business mindset. But, I keep my business and my hobby completely separate. Everything Cubs is not for sale. And that's really stupid at certain points in time because it's a 91 Topps Don Zimmer. I have probably 2,000 sitting in this room. And, that could have bought me some really, really nice vintage pre-war Cubs cards. And, I probably should have, done that and sold off a bunch, but I didn't. But that's the collector mindset.
Shame.
I know.
Well, that happens to you a few times, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I did the same thing where I saw some cards going up, or been doing this long enough to know when you kind of see the hype coming in, and you sell. And I always think, oh, well, I'll buy it back if it goes low or whatever, and or if you have 300, I mean, whatever, then. To Logan's point, like with him, it's like, well, during the time where some of the stuff had risen and had doubles of it, it's like, well, it makes sense to get rid of it because I saw it on the other end when it was, selling for nothing or whatever. And so, yeah, it happens. But
I think Brad asked a question a while ago. What is the right price for me to buy a Zion PSA 10 rookie? If it gets down to a couple $100, I'm probably in.
I'm the same way. If it gets down for a price, I'll pull the trigger on one. But I was looking, Herman, 24th. Yep, still planning on it.
The only point I'll buy a Zion PSA 10 is if I find one in a Goodwill pallet.
Might find some. It might not be this year, but in a few years, we'll find
next
some.
year I might be able to find one in a couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't even know how many they graded. It was like a few thousand of them. So
wasn't it like one of the most graded cards of all time? Like behind like the 89 Upper Deck Griffey, and I think it might have been.
We got a little bit of time here. You guys
Val's clicking on the keyboard there.
I hear it.
Or as we say on NASCAR radio, it's a buttload.
It's right up there probably with the Tiger Woods.
Oh, that's another one, yeah.
I
So a
see.
couple people in the chat have numbers.
I see Ken out there. Hey, Ken. I see Canton. He's out there. What's going on?
A couple people are saying 20,000 plus PSA 10s.
Wow.
Let's see what card number he is. He's card number 248.
That's and there's going to be more still. I mean, they're still going through the backlog. There's that number is going to go up. 21,000 PSA 10s. That was Ziggy said. Holy smokes. I mean, can the hobby even absorb that many? And I mean, I guess if you send in a bunch of them, I guess you just sit on them. I mean, what do you do?
The hobby can, if Zion is the next Shaq or Charles Barkley or Michael Jordan or LeBron James, the hobby won't if he's the next Greg Oden, which I think he's running more parallel to Oden than any of the others mentioned.
Yeah, that's an Oden but a goodie there.
Well, I mean, you know, if you've been doing this for a while, I remember Steven Strasburg comes to mind, where
they were paying all that money for his cards back then, and everybody thought, you know, people were crazy.
He was the next Nolan Ryan or whatever, and
yeah. And then he got hurt.
you wouldn't believe there's like 24 pages of Prism for that year.
Oh my gosh. I think that's one of the most graded sets of all time on PSA as well.
Yeah, that was peak basketball, man. That was a crazy year. I mean, that was and basketball had actually been climbing for a couple of years because of Luka. When I think Luka was rookie in 2017, and then, you know, a good 2-3 year run of basketball, and then all of a sudden it just tanked last summer, basically. And then the rest of the sports kind of followed.
Yeah, they did, except for Formula One.
So
right, yeah.
Right, there's 4,407 been graded and 1,479 10s.
On what card?
Is that the silver?
Silver, yeah.
So the silver, but then the base is probably the one that's over 20,000.
That's amazing.
Do we even know what the run is on silvers?
No, they're not. So the Zion, there are basically 40,000 been graded, 21,267 10s on the base.
Wow.
Yeah, so but there's no numbers on the silver or the base. So yeah, so 21,000 out of 40,000. So basically, you submit one and you have a half a shot of getting a 10, and then there's 16,709. So quality control is pretty good on it.
And we're just talking about PSA. We're not even talking about SGC, BGS, grading companies, what they've done. So you can expect, I won't say similar numbers, but you can say similar percentages of that number.
So, Bo, I'm betting you're going to find a base PSA 10 somewhere in Goodwill in the next coming years.
Yep, I see it coming. He's probably going to get a pallet of slab cards.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like, when am I going to start seeing a bunch of PSA slabs? Because, you know, the run on and some of the stuff I find in these Goodwill pallets is, you know, in fact, one of the guys, I tweeted out a photo of some of the stuff that was inside, and he goes, this guy reaches out and he's like, sends me a message, or maybe he responded to the tweet. He goes, "Hey, I think I donated those to the local Goodwill," and lives not too far from me. And there was some good stuff. There was some Topps Chrome, you know, Vlad Jr. rookies. There was like a Fernando Tatis insert, you know, rookie year cards. So there's some good stuff that are inside. So yeah, some of these raw cards from Topps Chrome the last couple of years are worth more than some of these PSA slabs that are coming back of Kobe White and Bull and some of those guys.
So do you buy those things by the pound? How does that work?
Yeah, they sell them by the pound. I'm not going to give away my secrets. I don't want to. I don't want to give up my honey hole. But yeah, they sell them by the pounds. It's about 90 cents a pound, which is a lot better price than the steak that I paid for this afternoon. Cardboard's a little cheaper. And the funny thing is, the last couple pallets I bought, ton of NASCAR, and you guys can probably guess which sets are in there.
1991.
91 Max.
I think it just stopped printing that yesterday.
just like the 91 Donruss.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so a thing on the 91 I've heard through dealers is that they printed it to order. And so, the boom was right then, so everybody ordered plenty of it. And so they printed a ton of it.
Is the 89 Upper Deck Griffey Jr. pop similar to Zion? I think Zion is probably more than Griffey.
Well, I was looking that up. So the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey #1 PSA, there's been 87,545. So let's call it 88,000.
Okay.
4,000 tens.
I'm surprised there's only that few.
And let's say 28,000 nines and 35,000 eights.
That's more than I thought there would be.
Yeah. So basically 35,000 eights, 27,000 nines, and 4,000 tens.
And how does that compare to Zion?
So, and Zion was, what would we say, it was like
20,000 tens.
No, it was like 4,000 tens out of 20 something. Oh, we're talking about, I guess you're talking about silver to base. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was 20,000 out of, was it like 88,000? If I remember right, the Zions, the nines and tens were very high, and that the eights and nines here are very high, and the tens are lower. So you're more likely to get an 8 or 9 on the Griffey, and Zion, you're more likely to get a 9 or 10.
Well, yeah, TD says the hologram on the back of the card that's kind of what prevents the tens on those 89 Griffies, because some are chipped and some are off centered. Mm-hmm. So that's an issue on those
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I have not started chasing any Series 2 blasters. I have no interest in Series 2 tops for baseball. I've been chasing what's right behind me, Bowman U football. I love that product. I've ripped a few blasters here and there. I'm going to sit on a bunch for college football season, and I've been pumping it. I've got the old classic pump and dump going on Bowman U. I'm gonna pump it up for a couple months. I'm gonna be transparent. I think it's gonna be a hot product in the fall. So I'm gonna go out, buy as much as I can, and pump it up and sell it in the fall. So no shame in my game.
Well, I mean, that makes good logic sense. I know the fall is going to be college season, so, and if it's not too expensive, people will splurge on it. So it's when it's $1,000 a box that it's crazy, right? If it's a reasonable price, I think people will splurge.
And the great thing about these is, I understand that a lot of people don't like it because there's no, the uniforms are airbrushed because it's NIL. But it's the first card. I think it's the first card. It's not like a long-term hold. It's not going to retain value for years and years. But I think in the short term, if a guy pops off and a quarterback throws 5 touchdowns and 400 yards in a game, I think some of the refractors and the autos are going to really pop from this product. But once the NFL jersey cards start coming out, then it's obviously just with any college issue, it's going to decrease in value. But, for a time being, for about a year, it's going to be the only game in town. So I'm really high on the product. In the interim, I won't say short term or long term, but, in the intermediate term, I guess, I really like the product, and it's only $20 a blaster. So it's not like you're risking $40 or $35 like on some of the Panini products. It's $20. Even the Topps products now are mostly like $25 at release. So at $20 and you get 4 pink refractors, and I sound like this sounds like a paid sponsorship, and I swear it's not. But it's just, I love the product.
Yeah, it's got a good price point. You're right. I mean, it's like even the NASCAR stuff that we buy is like, $25, $26 for a blaster now for Donruss.
Yeah.
But the F1, good.
To answer Ziggy, so Bowman U is it's kind of like all encompassing. So this year's Bowman U that's right over my shoulder here, it contains some guys that were drafted like 2 months ago in April. Those are, if you're ripping, those would be a sell right now because they're going to have Panini Prism draft picks. And then once the rookie cards start coming out, they're going to have rookie cards. So, but it also has guys that will be draft eligible next year. So they won't have Panini draft until next year. So they're still a year away from having any Panini draft cards. And then, a year plus to have rookie cards. And then there's some guys that are even younger that won't be eligible for the draft for 2 more years than this product. So they're 2 years away from having rookie cards. So if they bust off for 3-4 touchdowns as a running back or throw for 5 touchdowns, they're going to see some value spikes. So that's why I'm high on the product, because it's going to be the only game in town for a certain amount of players.
I was going to say one other thing we're going to talk about is it's the first one. There's a lot to be said about the first release of the first group of stuff. So usually like when the Topps Now or the Topps other stuff, when it's the first stuff to come out, it does very well. And if it's got the selection and everything else, it'll have a little more legs, I would say. But I'll have to take a look at it.
And I'm interested. I have a college athletics background. I worked in college athletics at a Division I institution for about 3 years. So I kind of, I have an understanding on, how important it is for some of these athletes to actually make some money. And so I have a special interest in the NIL since it was established last July. But it's going to be interesting to see how the hobby handles it, moving forward. Is this going to be a flash in the pan? I'm saying, and I tweeted out a couple hours ago that Bowman U blaster boxes are going to be they're going to be selling for more than the current Prism football blaster boxes come September. That's my hot take of the day. But I could have egg on my face in 3-4 months, and nobody wants Bowman U because they're airbrushed. Panini comes out with, or actually I think Fanatics has a deal with 100 institutions to have some NIL deals, and all of a sudden those are, that's is it Fanatics or Panini's? One of those. I read the article. So that product could be, what takes over. Will NIL will it even be a thing? Will we even, clamor for it? Will it take over like First Bowman? A lot of football collectors say, well, prospecting is more of a baseball thing, and football collectors don't want to prospect. But that's hindsight. What if, this is a new thing? What if it does take hold and the new hobby accepts it like a baseball Bowman? So I think the next couple of years with these NIL products, and what's cool about NIL is, I think it's cool that, the athletes can make some money on their name, image, and likeness. But also it's basically they can deal with Brian over at Leaf. They can deal with Upper Deck. They can deal with Fanatics. They can deal with Panini. The only thing I don't really understand is how it works with the NCAA license, because Panini hasn't released any NIL products with current athletes in college uniforms. And my initial thought process was that's because the NIL deal prevents that from happening, because it would, signing an NIL deal, an athlete can't be in college uniform, much like, the local athlete selling cars at the local car dealership can't be in a Cubs uniform or whatever. But with, I think, the Fanatics deal they announced, with the individual institutions, they can actually have an NIL deal with athletes in their collegiate uniform. And maybe Panini can do that. They just have chosen not to. I don't know what that case to be, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think we need to give it some time, but I will say, as a collector myself, the NIL just doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I mean, I love Alabama football. Roll Tide. My wife graduated from there, and we go to at least one game a year down in Tuscaloosa. And my son follows, Alabama football. He knows all the players, and even he said he really doesn't have a whole lot of interest in college football cards at all. He thinks they're neat. Don't get me wrong, but his interest just isn't there. He likes pro football. That's what he collects. And if I was a collector, I don't know that I would try. I mean, but things change. You never know.
I think the autograph collector, it's something for them to chase, or if they're either by player or by team or whatever, that just gives them more options. And I think there's definitely people going to speculate if they have big games or if they win the Heisman or drafted high. This is their first cards. Now, is it going to be Fanatics or Panini, or I was just thinking Upper Deck has the E-Pack, different cards, and then of course Leaf. So I don't know which one's going to take hold, but just like it was a base card, it was a Prism, it's a silver, the Bowman first card, it'll all shake out over time as what collectors want. So it's great to have all these different options, though. And I did see where the Canton card collector was talking about the 55 Topps All-American design. That'd be cool for, like a heritage type set.
That would be cool.
And then there was somebody had a question in the chat here. I don't understand why the top loader is bendable plastic blue colored.
I've got a brand new. Did Greg mention BCW? Yeah, BCW. So I've got a brand new top loader pack of BCW. I'm gonna.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it like a bluish hue to the plastic?
Yes, I think that's what it is. It's a bluish hue. Tea.
Chick-fil-A.
You go to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's
I'm
bad
not
plastic.
colorblind, but I don't pay it. I don't. My wife shows me colors, and I'm like, they all look the same. I mean,
Well, when you stack them up
kind of
together,
a glaze to it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't do top loaders, so
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. It's probably just a pricing thing on plastic from wherever they buy it from their supplier.
Yeah, I mean, it's made some overseas at some factory. They don't get to see the probably final product until it comes out of the container here.
Yeah, and and I guess when you think about it, a slab is going to be significantly more expensive than, a piece of plastic top loader. So it's probably a cost thing. That's and that's just me assuming. We all know what that does, but that's what I would think.
Well, a more rigid plastic is going to offer more protection long term. So if you're getting something graded, generally that's going to be a long-term investment. So you do want something that's not going to bend, because if it did bend, I mean, now all of a sudden your PSA 10 is a PSA 4. So you don't want it to bend, but I mean, for temporary storage and keeping cards in good shape, a top loader is a good is a good investment for your cards. So that's my take on that. And yeah, UV protection. Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
that's a good point too.
So Dr., what do you guys think will be healthy activity for the hobby in the second half of 2022?
Logging off social media.
Buy cards. I think right now, like what we said earlier, it's going to become a buyer's market. I think here, if it's not already there.
Yeah, definitely. Cash will be king, and it's time to maybe go after the white whales and buy the premium type stuff. I was just thinking, like, in the stock market, when everybody's selling and you buy them, when everybody's buying you sell, and you always want to buy the blue chips
or the glamour cards.
Glamour cards.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but buy strategically.
Yeah.
And I think that goes without saying, but try to avoid FOMO and.
Yeah, FOMO is expensive.
Yeah.
It is.
So
geometry proof of that, and prove that FOMO equals expensive. I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, be patient and
you do your research, like I said, those things. You just can't rush into things like I was talking about those guys at our hobby store earlier. Those guys were just buying anything and everything because they were afraid they might be missing out, and they wanted to be in on it. And I haven't seen those guys since. It was that one day, and I have not seen them at all ever. And I've been there a bunch of times since and not seen them. I'll have to ask the owner of the shop if he's seen those guys.
So I try to buy future Hall of Famers. Yeah, I do this in NASCAR. You can kind of tell who's going to be future Hall of Famers, and you can pick them up cheap. If you find them cheap, then that's one of the things I always say is like, well, if you're gonna, I can't resist it at this price. If you're gonna make me buy it at that price, I will.
Absolutely.
I'll answer Brad and say Wander Franco, but there's no data backing my answer. It's just spitballing. Wander Franco over Julio Rodriguez. And you can sway my vote either way.
So did you guys see where Christie's sold that 86 Jordan rookie buyback that's autographed, limited to 23 from Upper Deck for over $1 million with buyer's premium?
Woo.
Yeah. There's only 23 of them. I looked on PSA's pop report. I think they've graded 3 of those.
So while you're saying that, what happens to all the Hanes Michael Jordans?
I don't know. Did anybody ever pull one of those autographs?
I never saw one.
I think, was there only 10 made? I think there was only
Something like
10
that.
made.
Not to derail the buyback. The buyback's incredible for 86. That's incredible. But I was just thinking, a Jordan and limited, and so sorry. But
I promote the Madison Card Show, Madison, Wisconsin. 2 months ago, we had I dealer that was basically just set up to buy. So I asked him at the end of the show what was the coolest thing that came in, and I was actually pretty shocked what walked through the door. It was the complete 86 Fleer basketball set signed.
Oh my God.
The MJ, the Jordan rookie was slabbed. It was Beckett authenticated, but everything else was not authenticated. So the dealer that I had there did not buy it. The seller was asking for, a pretty high amount for it. And he was, he'd have to, 100, and how many cards were in that set? 128 or something?
132.
132. He'd have to, get 131 cards authenticated. So it was going to be a big cost to him. The Jordan signature was, I think there was maybe a smudge. One of the other big rookies, maybe Barkley, the signature was, there was like a smudge on it. It wasn't a nice looking signature. So I wish I was there to see it, but I was just told about it at the end of the day, but that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I've seen people working on like the Topps traded sets like that.
Oh yeah.
So of course in racing we do the 88 Max set. It's kind of the equivalent, getting everything. It's a 100 card set and getting that autograph. So.
Yep, that was going back to that Christie's auction. That was a hefty price for that card. I mean, $1 million. And they said, if I read correctly, I think there's only 14 of those 23 cards that are known out there. I'm sure there's some in private collections, just sitting there. And I'm sure they're probably some still out in packs maybe as well. Because you got to think this is 2006.
Yeah, I've got 9 of them right here in this box.
Right, Bo. You're a gazillionaire.
And he won't get rid of them. So.
Yep, not selling them. I wish.
Yeah, I hope they're out in packs. That's why I love, the old packs and hate redemption. So.
Yeah, in fact, were they wild, out in the wild, or were they redemptions? I don't even remember. I would think they would be out in the wild. Does anybody know? Does anybody know out there in the chat?
Was this the and you may have already said this, was this the 10-year anniversary set that they released in 96?
No, this was 2006. This would be in
20 year. Okay. Or how many years? 20.
86, yeah.
20 years, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was looking at the banners. So I should be clicking. I'm not clicking. So
43 days to the National. I can't wait.
Yep.
Can't wait for planes, trains, and automobiles, which is what that'll be to get there. But once we get there, who cares? As long as I get there, that's all I'm worried about.
Let's see.
How many people out there in Chatland are going to the National? I know some of those guys that I see out there, I know for sure are going. I know like Brad's going. I know that JK's going, 70s Card Show, he's going because he lives really close. I don't think Ken is going, though. I think he said something about going to Chicago next year. Ziggy's definitely a maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Definite maybe. DH hoping to go in 23. Well, Chicago is, in my opinion, the best venue by far anyway. I mean, you've got there's lots of amenities around there. Plus, you've got Gibson Steakhouse right across the street. Can't beat it.
The White Castle?
They do have White Castles. We've made not White Castle runs before.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So that's why. That's why I thought you were going to say that. So
yeah, that's a positive for sure.
Now, speaking of that, and Logan, were you at the last Dallas Card Show with Dr. Beckett's Roundtable?
Yes.
Okay, so I was listening back to one of Dr. Beckett's podcasts, and one of the topics was, and I think Rob from Burbank brought it up, where he said that Southern California was like the hobby hotspot or whatever. I can't remember the term he used, but a lot of people mentioned Dallas, and I think I would say Dallas would be. And then Chicago was brought into the conversation. Now I live 2 hours from Chicago. And I don't even know if I would put Chicago in the top 5 of like hobby hotbeds in the country. So I'm curious on what your guys' thoughts on, I think Dallas, New York, Southern California, definitely. Maybe I guess Chicago probably by default's in the top 5 just because it's a large city. But I would probably rank those three that I just mentioned above Chicago.
Yeah, to me, I think Dallas is definitely probably the biggest hobby epicenter. I mean, because you've got manufacturers there. I mean, you've got Panini, you've got Leaf, then you've got auction houses like Heritage, you've got Beckett there. There's so much going on that supports the hobby and helps the hobby there. I definitely think that Dallas is probably the epicenter. I think Southern California is probably, I wouldn't say a close second, but they're a second. Because they do have PSA there. Of course, Burbank cards. I've bought so much from those guys. It's amazing. I've never been there. It's one of my bucket list things to go see Burbank sports cards. But in my opinion, those are the top two, and then I think you can fight for the rest of them. Maybe New York would probably be third. And like I said, Chicago, just because of the size, for sure, would be in the top five. I mean,
okay.
I'm trying to think who else would be, even close. I mean, like I said, there's so much going on in Dallas. I mean, and ComC has, they have people down there too working. Uncle Rich works there. And Stefan and all them, they work there. So it's definitely, to me, if you want a job in the hobby, I mean, I think you need to go to Dallas.
I was just saying it's kind of like the Silicon Valley there.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
It's Cardboard Valley.
Cardboard Valley. Okay. Yes, Dallas Fort Worth, Cardboard Valley, Logan. I love it. So, and the reason, and Victor mentioned it. Why do I think that? And it does like. There's much in Chicago in terms of both card shops and card shows. And I know there are some great card shops in the Chicagoland area. But there's really not, I don't think of it as much of a card capital. There's very few card shows. The Chicago Sports Spectacular runs now 3 times a year. And that's a really good show. I'm kind of cold on it though. As I talked about in my show this morning, Orland Park is a south suburb. It has a nice show, but really when you get out west and north of the suburbs, there's not much going on. And so that's kind of, there's no manufacturers, and that's a big reason. I think I put Dallas up there. I'm a little biased because a lot of, the guys from Hobby Hotline, a lot of the content creators, a lot of my friends in the hobby are living in Dallas. But there's a lot like the companies you mentioned. There's just a lot of hobby companies that are, in Dallas. And there's really not nothing to the level of a big time company in the Chicagoland area. So that's kind of why, when I heard Chicago be brought up, I'm like, Chicago, I wouldn't put that in the top 5. But as I start listing out cities, I guess it by default being a large city and with what it does offer. And I don't want to crap all over Chicago. I'm not a Chicago guy, but I'm a Chicago guy. I'll adopt myself as a Chicago guy, but geographically I'm close enough. Yeah. So that's kind of the basis points, but I thought that was I really enjoyed the back and forth on that podcast from the content creator roundtable that Dr. Beckett hosted. And it really got me thinking like, Dallas would definitely be number 1 on that list for me, in my opinion. And, probably LA number 2 and New York number 3. And then, probably Chicago 4, I guess, now as I talk it out. But I consider the East Coast, like the hobby, like that's kind of where it all started. I mean, Topps started out on the East Coast, and a lot of the longtime dealers, I mean, the East Coast brought us Uncle Rich Klein. He's in Dallas now, but he's a New York native. Our very own John Newman's a New York guy. So, there's a lot of New York's producing a lot of hobby stuff. So I think that's why I would put that up ahead of Chicago.
Yeah, definitely third for New York. But you're right. Dallas is very hobby centric with everything that's going on there. Kind of makes me wish I lived closer, because I would love to have a job in the hobby these days. But I think for sure Dallas, and then like I said, Southern California with PSA and all that going on. Looking at the comments here.
I was looking at, there's a few.
Yeah, DR Dan mentioned that the shops are pretty weak right now, but it was hopping in the 90s, and I really haven't gone to. I know there's a couple. I know Brody the to shop. Steve's a food shop, and some others in the Chicago area that I know are really good. And I think everywhere, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. In a no stoplight town, and within 10 miles of my house, I think at one time in 91, 92, there were about 7 card shops within a 10-minute drive. And I lived in the middle of nowhere. So everything was hopping in the 90s.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. We had at one point during that same time, we had like 21 card shops in this area. And now we had 2. We just had another one open about 2 weeks ago. So we've got 3 now. And possibly 4. I've heard rumors of another one opening up south of here in Mississippi. So, but yeah, it's way different now. I think somebody asked a while ago about having a national in Southern California. I would love for them to have a national there, and there's no reason for them not to have it there, except for probably the cost of living and the cost of hotels.
Well, I saw something in the chat about Orlando and Vegas as well.
I think Vegas would be a great spot, and I actually thought Vegas about 2 years ago. I think this was a topic probably here on Hobby Hotline that I was like adamantly against a national in Vegas, and I've completely changed to that because there's been hobby centric events in Vegas here over the last year and a half, and I think they've been pretty successful. Flights to Vegas are very accessible and fairly cheap. Nothing's really cheap right now, but comparatively speaking, I think Vegas would be a good spot. Now, I'm not privy to cost. I'm not privy to venues, but it's been done with other events. I don't know if there's something cost effective, which is crucial when it comes to planning something, especially large scale like the national. If it's cost effective to run something out there, but if it were, I think Vegas would be a great spot for the national. And I feel bad for our West Coast friends because they have to. I mean, the best they get is Chicago, and I've flown Chicago to the West Coast. It's not an easy flight, so I feel bad for our friends on the West Coast. They deserve some national love soon.
Yeah, they've been getting pounded for a while between Baltimore and Cleveland and
Atlantic
City, then back and do the round robin again.
Yeah.
Even the other time was in Atlanta, and I guess there was in Dallas one time. I don't know, it was in early mid 90s. So yeah, it's.
Yeah, I mean, there was one in St. Louis, I think, in '95. I went to that one. And it's so different now than what it was back in 1995.
Even Vegas is getting closer to them. I'd love to see it in Vegas or Dallas or Atlanta.
I have never been to Vegas in my life, believe it or not. It's someplace I want to go. I just have. It's again another one of those bucket list things for me, but I've never been.
It's got to be.
I've been to Vegas twice, and I spent about $20 in gambling. I don't gamble. I don't play poker. I don't do roulette. I put about $20 in the slots, and that was it. I had a good time. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun in Vegas, but I just didn't gamble.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bo. I'm not a gambler either. I work too hard for my money. Just put it in slot machines. I just don't do that.
Yeah, John mentioned St. Louis. Yeah, that is a good venue. And
Yeah.
that's in John. That's the exact reason why that's why my original. That's why I originally did not like the thought of Vegas hosting a national, because Vegas isn't really kid friendly, and you want it to be kid friendly for a big card show like that. And plus, it's kind of nice to not have, because there's a lot of gambling mentality in trading cards. And, you go out there on a Wednesday night and piss away all your money at the slot machine or at the roulette table or blackjack table. And then you're not spending any money on the show floor the next 3 or 4 days. So, I get that. So that was basically my number one reason originally why I didn't think it would be a good spot. But I've kind of changed tune on that a little bit.
So you just, instead of spending money, you have to exchange your money for packs of Prism, and then you put the Prism on the
Right.
roulette wheel or whatever, and so it pays out in packs.
Right.
Well,
if that were the case, I'd gamble more.
There's the possibility of that same mentality in Atlantic City. I mean, with the casinos there.
Yeah.
Val, when we went to Atlantic City back, when was it, Val? 2016.
Yeah, it was 2016.
We went to. I think Trump's Taj Mahal was like on its last days, and we went in there, and I think we each plopped down about $20 or so, and that was it.
Yeah, 2 minutes, we're done.
We were done. We just left.
I had everybody outside picketing. Yeah, that was a good time.
Oh, it was.
That was a union strike or something out by the boardwalk, but yeah. It was only a few blocks, I think, walk to the convention center. So
yeah, it was. We walked everywhere we went. We didn't even. I think the whole time we were there, we didn't take any kind of cab or Uber or anything.
it's not too bad.
I think I'm going to agree with John on this. He says he's in Vegas about 60 days a year. He says it's a hard pass for Vegas. The more I think about it, the more it's like, yeah, probably Vegas is probably not the best place for a national.
Well, I don't know if it's me, but when I go to Vegas, it's, when you get there, great. But after a day or two or whatever, it's like, I'm tired of hearing the slot machines and whatever else. I'm ready to go.
But that's the thing. You're at the national, so you just kind of tune that stuff out. And I think why I'm really pro Vegas right now is how difficult travel is to Atlantic City. And it's like the exact like Vegas is the easiest city to get to no matter where you're at. There's a flight, and somebody's going to throw a city at me. Oh, we don't have flights to Vegas. But it's like almost everywhere. You can get a cheap flight to Vegas from almost anywhere in the U.S. And here we are talking about Atlantic City this summer, and we've got to fly into Philadelphia and hop on the train and all that stuff. And that's why I'm looking at Vegas like, man, it's so easy and much cheaper to fly to Vegas than Philadelphia.
And then take the train. What is it, an hour or whatever it is on the train, and then you're at the convention center. Then your transportation to wherever you're going to stay. It's not hard, but it's not going to Vegas easy. Only gamble on sports cards. Yeah,
I'm with you. That I guess you could call what we do gambling in a roundabout way. It's kind
really want to gamble by the Dynasty F1.
Oh gosh, yeah. If you really want to gamble, that's the box to buy. At $5,000 a box, there's only a handful of cards that may get your investment back.
Yeah, $400 or $40,000.
Yep.
Well, here we are, an hour and 5 minutes in, and we were worried we wouldn't even cover 5 minutes with no topics tonight.
Yeah, it went by quick.
It always does.
Well, I guess on that note, we'll wrap it up.
Yep, since we're in overtime.
Yeah, thanks for everybody in the chat. Enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Let's see, this weekend, who's on? Drew, Brody, and Herman. They are on Saturday, so you want to tune in at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then Bo or Logan, if you want to wrap up, is there anything you want to say before we go?
Well,
I talked enough. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, yeah. You can catch Val and I on NASCAR radio along with Jason. So that's all I'm going to say. And it's been a great night.
Yep. All right, guys. Be safe, and I don't know what else to say.
Hashtag skid marks.
Yes. All right. All right, we're out of here.
See ya.